Are you tired of self-doubt holding you back? Have you ever wished you could have the confidence to face your fears, go after your wildest dreams, and the tools necessary to live your best life? Hey there, amazing listeners. I'm your host and author of How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power. And I've made it my mission to help you break free from self-doubt and embrace confidence. Subscribe now and join us as we unlock the secrets to unshakable self-assurance. Let's dive in. Have you ever felt like you're your own worst enemy, sabotaging your own success just when things start to go right? Well, today we're diving deep into the psychology of sabotage with Dr. Philip Agrios, a self-sabotage expert, leadership coach, and creator of the T Now method. Philip has spent decades uncovering the hidden survival traits that unknowingly hold achievers back. And this is important because a lot of our audience members that are listening to this today are C-suite executives, they're business owners, they're high performers. So this really appeals to people who are struggling a little bit and want to go to that next peak in life. Through his 6-step blueprint and groundbreaking work in human behavior, he's helped thousands break free from self-imposed limitations. I love that. To achieve peak performance, clarity, and confidence. And in this episode, we will be unpacking why even the most driven individuals hit invisible walls. Philip, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate being here. It's an honor.
Yeah, so this is an interesting concept, right? And you and I talked before off air, and I said, self-sabotage, pretty interesting concept. Most people think other people are sabotaging them, and they don't really know or understand that they're actually sabotaging themselves sometimes. So this is a new concept for some people. I would love to hear how you got into this work and why you realized that this was so important.
Well, imagine being born with a trait that silently holds you back your entire life. Maybe people here are listening to that feeling that's one of the things that were happening, or depending on certain situations, it would hold them back, and not realizing until you're kind of on the edge of losing everything. And that was me. I was a great king of saboteur. And this is how I turned it around. I was able to, through my experiences of I used to be a chiropractor and a functional medicine practitioner specializing in autoimmune disease, looking at people, why they were consistently getting into unhealthy habits, or why I couldn't take my business to another level. And then I would get there and I would find some way to drop that down, right? That roller coaster situation, or why my kids were going through certain things. So I was able to it kind of came to me. I mean, I remember I almost destroyed everything for the last 30 years of my life because I didn't feel I was worthy of this, because I was getting this going. People, even though we were helping thousands of people, I wanted to go higher. I wanted to help more and more people. And I almost destroyed everything because I just didn't feel that worthiness, because I felt I was given something no one else has. So there was nothing like this in the world. And until a friend of mine happened to call me that day, who I haven't talked to in a while, and talked me out of it. So I felt that there was something there that was telling me to keep on moving forward. And during the years, I was able to discover this silent trait, because people think that self-sabotage is a mindset. What if I told you it's actually a biological trait that you're born with, and you can, on command, switch it off at any time you want?
Wow. Well, that's definitely new, right?
Yes.
Most people think it's got to be a mindset. And, that's like the common mainstream knowledge. But to think of this as something that's actually on a, genomic level? or biological level in some kind of way? That's interesting. I would love to hear a little bit more.
Yeah. So what we found was that I was able to discover there are actually just three basic traits that make up who we are. And we call them the director, the supplier, and the communicator traits, because as humans, that's all we do. We direct, we communicate, and we supply. That's it. And once I realized that through quantum physics and how the body works and all that, that these three basic traits created who we are and guides us and governs everything that we do. And I was able to understand that there is actually a protective sequence. And this protective sequence has three slots. And it's like a seesaw situation. So one of the slots is your superpower. It's why you're here on Earth, and that's your person that you go to. It's when you go through a lot of problems, you use your superpower to get through things. And then there's a mediator trait, which is a bridge between your superpower and what we call the inborn sabotaging trait. And what happens is they work like this. Okay. So when you are overly using your superpower, whether it's overthinking or it's you overly talking or going into action or focusing and being very sensitive and things like that, or really giving, what happens is it can actually trip you up. And what happens is people really don't think that your strength can actually trip you up, causing this self-sabotage. And during the process of all these years, over the last 3 decades, when I found this, I thought, this is too simple. There's no way. So I went out to try to disprove it. And after 30 years researching thousands and thousands of people, not only was able to prove it, I found a way to switch it off instantly, and it works 100% of the time. So self-sabotage is a self-protection. I'm going to say that again. Self-sabotage is just self-protection. So when you start to release your personal and professional power and you hit that wall, your saboteur, the inborn sabotaging trait, kicks in to protect you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not an idiot or a loser or whatever the situation, whether I can't finish this task or, again, someone's taken advantage of me again because of my kindness, or I'm not expressing myself. I just wish I was able to say that this phrase for that person verbally, but 2 days later I thought about it. Things like that, from imposter syndrome, procrastination, whatever that is. At that moment, it is too uncomfortable to continue doing what you're doing. So this inborn sabotage trait is the reason that it protects you from the very success that you seek, because subconsciously that success is harder and uncomfortable to achieve and sustain. So we go back doing what we're doing.
Now, I know this from personal experience, when we're about to do something that's scary. So for me, it was stepping on stage, public speaking, right? I think I told you that before. That was once my biggest fear. And part of, on a biological level, a sabotage, to a certain extent, is that fight or flight. It's that protection mechanism, right?
Yes.
Your amygdala in your brain says, hey, I don't know all about this. This sounds scary. A lion could be around the corner, right? And we go to fight or flight. And all our brain knows really is that this is different. This is scary. I could get hurt. So on a biological level, that is certainly the case, right? Now, does what you're saying relate to this biological mechanism of fight, flight, freeze, protect? And what would you say about that, about the survival traits? How does this relate to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a hidden survival trait for us. It's all at different degrees. So those examples are fantastic, but they're at a 9, 10 type of a degree. If I drop it down to a 1 or 2 degree, it's like, I have to get this together for my client tomorrow. All right. Or I have a whole week to get this taken care of. I'll do it next week, because you don't want to do it because it's uncomfortable. Maybe you don't have enough knowledge to do it, or you don't have enough trust and faith in yourself, or it's just boring and detailed, and I'll just put it off. At that moment, instead of just getting it done, it's uncomfortable. So you're actually protecting yourself, because that little thing is painful. And sometimes to people, it's like that saber-toothed tiger right around the corner, as you stated. So it all depends on the degree. But when you're out of the flow, when you feel resistance, when you feel stressed, worry, anything, at that moment, you are in protection. Because there's only two things we do as humans. We protect, we grow, we expand, we contract, we give and take. So there's only two going back and forth that quickly in order for, and it goes like this, or you can go like that, right? Depending on the fear, depending on what you feel subconsciously is causing that. And what we found was when we used the T-Now method, the T-Now method, what happened is it explains how the saboteur and what we call the antidote. I was able to find what we call the antidote to switch off self-sabotage, and it's impossible to self-sabotage when you use the antidote. It's the exact opposite. So if you have not enough confidence, or if you don't feel that you are able to do something, or you're scared of going out and making yourself a fool on stage, or whatever the wording and the thoughts that you're having, it all comes down to just one thing for you individually.
Okay. Let's do a practical example, because everybody is saying, that sounds like me. I'm kind of lacking confidence right now. I'm, rising to the top, but I'm wondering, are people thinking I'm a fraud? When are they going to find me out, Phil? Mm-hmm. They're asking themselves this. This is a real conversation people are having right now in their minds. And they're saying, you know what? I'm also stuck in this job. I hate it. I feel unfulfilled, lacking purpose. But what else is there for me? Again, I'm lacking confidence in my own abilities, my own everything. Somebody that's in that seat right now, which is a lot of folks, what can they do to switch it off like you're talking about so they can go to this next level and break out of that, almost like it feels like a cage. Mm-hmm. It's like a self-imposed prison.
Absolutely.
What can they do, Phil, to turn the key?
Remember that prison is just your protection. You're protecting yourself, whether it's on a mental, physical, or spiritual level. So when people say, I don't have enough confidence, or I lost my confidence, I go, no, you never lost your confidence. It's there. You're just using the opposite side of that confidence. You see what I'm saying? So you never lose confidence. You have everything within you. There's no such thing as lack. You are the loving person. You're the hating person. You are the ugly person. You're the beautiful person. You are Mother Teresa. You're the mass murderer. Everything is within you. It's up to you what you want to tap into to show the world and yourself. So don't think that you've lost anything. It's just you're using the opposite side of it. So when you go into a fear mode, for instance, let's say it's a trust and fear thing. So can you see the front of my hand, right?
Yep.
Can you see the back of my hand?
I can't.
No. Can you see the front of my hand now? No, right. Only the back.
Right.
So if this is fear, you can't have trust. If you trust, you can't have fear. So when you go into saboteur, when you go into protection, you cannot grow. But when you go into growth, you can't protect. You see what I'm saying? So when you are finally finding out what the reason is why I feel this lack of confidence, whether it's because I'm scattered, I don't feel good, or I just don't have enough confidence in myself because I don't have enough trust and faith in myself. The lack of confidence is basically a secondary emotion, not the true cause of the emotion. That's why people can't get a grasp of it, because they haven't gone down to the one root part of it. In our programs, we help people to understand what is your saboteur, how to do that, and find the antidote, which will switch it off instantly. If I can give you an example.
Yes, please. Give me an example.
So you ever see the domino masters? They push this one domino and goes straight, and let's say balloons are released. Well, what's the last thing you see? The balloons.
Yeah.
That's your imposter syndrome, your lack of confidence, your procrastination, everything that you feel and see last. So what do? We take our coping methods and do what? We put them on the balloons, not the one domino. What's easier? Hold down all the balloons and stop pushing the domino. That domino is the inborn sabotage trait that creates every negative emotion that you experience to create whatever you feel and see last. Once you use what we call the antidote, the exact opposite, you have to go down the road of growth and inspiration instead of going down frustration and protection on the other end. So when you do it, it's just a shift. It's not going up the hill. I got to get better. I got to do this. It's like always pushing forward. All you got to do is go differently. It's making a left or right. It's just switching this off, and it's right there. Now, you may switch that, use the antidote. You may not go to a 10 confidence, but you may go from a 2 to a 4, which feels like a 10 because it's 50% more, right?
Yep.
And as you start working on it, and as you start to go into that protection, it's how long are you there using your saboteur? That's the challenge.
So
right?
What is an antidote, Phil?
So the antidote is the exact opposite to the behavior of that saboteur. Okay. So once you know your saboteur, it is what consciously protects you. The antidote is the exact opposite. It's a different type. It's a one sentence shift that when people go into their saboteur and they go into protection, they go, okay, how do I use my antidote? Oh, yes, that's why I'm not doing it. These are the things I need to do. And immediately on a subconscious level, they shift it and then they can move forward. Now, some people can do it immediately. It depends on the situation. Some people, instead of, have you been into a situation where you sabotage yourself? Maybe, whatever the case may be, it took a week, 2 weeks before you got out of it. Or maybe it took 2-3 days, right? So now you're using it less. You're not being as protective, but you're moving forward. So now you're doing this. So when you hit that uncomfortable barrier, as you start to contract, imagine knowing it's only one trait that you're focusing on. Once you know that trait and using the antidote, you must go into growth. So now you're doing this instead of this. So we've had many examples of leaders and business owners stuck. We've even had PTSD veterans. We have a CEO, very successful in his business, but the PTSD caused him to consistently being in a protective state. He had 12 tours. Within the first 3 weeks of the program, he was able to go dancing with his wife for the first time. Now, with us, that sounds not a big deal, but that was huge for him, which then shifted more into his business. We've had CEOs that were so ingrained in procrastination and sensitivity affected their personal life, and things were going on in their personal life. And once they understood that the saboteur was both the personal and professional life, that it was causing these problems, because your personal life and your professional life are one. And when you use your saboteur, both are affected. But when you use your antidote, both are affected at the same time. You can start shifting things. So many things in your life will start shifting, maybe longer because it takes longer because you've had this problem for a long, long time compared to something that may be newer or easier to quickly manipulate and move through it. It
does.
Does that resonate?
Yeah, I think so. So, I'm just thinking of some examples that I've seen with my clients. Maybe they have a fear of rejection, so they don't make sales calls for their business because they got rejected a few times, and now they assume that's going to be the permanent reality of every call they make, right? That could be an example.
We've seen that many times.
Yeah.
Many times.
So
and people are now they're making those calls because with something like that, it could be that they don't value themselves enough. So that word value is a subconscious shift for that one particular saboteur. That's why they overly give. They are taking advantage of. So now they talk to a CEO that, oh my God, this is a CEO of Coke or whatever. I'm not worthy of talking to this person, or they get to talk to that person. They overly give. Well, I'll give you this and this and this, and just, to show you how valuable I am, which causes them to be devalued instead of staying in their leadership and their own power. And then knowing that this person is calling them because they see value in that person. See what I'm saying? So when they focus on their antidote and value themselves more, then what happens is then they can start closing the deals and start talking to people in a more effective way. And therefore, now their business starts to increase because now they understand why they wouldn't pick up the phone in the first place. Or they finally pick up the phone, but now their closing rates are not that great because they're coming across not as valuable and empowering from the other person. And the more they understand why they're doing this, not only in their personal life, their professional life and their personal life, then the relationships will grow, their business grow, things start to happen because now within themselves, they're changing their vibration, they're changing their energy so people see and feel them differently.
So someone has this problem, let's say, and, we think they have a fear of rejection, but I think what you're saying is the deeper resonance there is actually they don't feel valuable within themselves in some kind of a capacity, right? So what is the first step somebody would take in this situation to flip that narrative? Would it just be simply taking action, or do they have to be doing something before then?
So in that situation, as they just start, if that's truly who they are, that's their saboteur, by just understanding that value, by saying no and not now, and actually taking for themselves, which is very uncomfortable, subconsciously they start shifting and feeling the power instantaneously. It's amazing how we come back with people going, wow, I cannot believe how quickly I feel this, how I can set boundaries more often, how that I'm overly patient. I let these people take advantage of me. So now it's time for me to value myself and doing these certain things and following my antidote and other things. And then on top of that, they may be a person that overthinks. Now they're overthinking this situation. Well, if they call this person, they're going to think this, this, and this, and this. Now they're creating this story, which is not true, because they're so used to being devaluing themselves. Once you start to value you, then other people, situations, and events have to come in to reinforce your new value. That's just how it works. It's law. So everything outside of you is you. The person you can't stand is a part of you can't stand. They're just showing up to show what you're doing to you. So when I have clients tell me I have this going on, or this is happening, we take that whole conglomeration of what's happening, coming down to how is this all related to just one saboteur. And once they realize this saboteur created all these adversities to help them to evolve, and then using the antidote, then by using that, each one is being effective simultaneously. And then therefore, depending on how long and entrenched that particular problem is, will then start being taken care of. Does that make sense?
It does. And I've been studying ancient Kabbalah recently, and I find it really interesting, and it kind of resonates with this. In Kabbalah, they refer to you as a vessel. And in order for you to get more light in, sometimes the vessel has to expand in order to get more in, right? So you have to it breaks a little bit.
And then dissolve.
Breaks. Yes.
Right. Because evolving and dissolving happen at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. You cannot evolve without dissolving. You cannot dissolve without evolving. They both happen at the same time. It's like life is falling apart, but it's also falling together. Which side do you want to look at?
Yeah.
So if you are the world, right, the northern hemisphere in the winter is cold, but in the southern hemisphere, it's hot. Everything is within you. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? How you want to move forward? And because our superpower many times, whether you're overthinking this or you're too sensitive, people are going to make fun of me or anything like that, or I just keep on talking, and I just vomit on everybody, right? Type of situation, because I just want to share my stuff with them, or I'm scattered, or all these different things. So your superpower can cause you not to do whatever you need to do. So you procrastinate, or you feel that imposter syndrome, or whatever the case may be. So when you understand how these three traits work together, that's where the magic happens. For instance, you ever have a salesperson who talks himself out of a sale, and anybody out there, right? Any VP of sales? I work with a lot of VP of sales. And I would ask them, what would you do for this person? And they would go, they would need a communication course. And I said, no, that's the last thing they need. They're great communicators. The reason why they're vomiting on people is because, number one, it could be, depending on their saboteur, that they don't value themselves. So they have to overly give. They have to show, keep on giving things for free or whatever the case may be to show how valuable they are. Or they're scattered or all over the place. So they're just kind of winging this instead of following a structured type of outline to keep them on track so they can be clear to the other person so they can sell.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So that's where the superpower can do it. Same thing. People that are overthinking this, we had gave them that idea too. They make this story up in their head thinking this is truth, but it's not.
Wow. It's so powerful. I totally resonate with that, right? The feeling of needing to overgive. And, part of that is the reliance of external validation for your own approval. And when you do that, when you feel like you need to do that for your own value, you're diminishing yourself so much and it's not serving you. And this is part of that contrast that you have to sometimes get rid of these things out of your life and move them out in order to let something positive in, right? So do you have any insight on that? Because this external validation and seeking outsider approval is hurting a lot of people unwittingly right now. And it's a different level of people pleasing, and it only brings us down, right? So how can somebody overcome that, Phil?
Well, one of the reasons why we'd rather have something that we know, even though it causes us pain, we know this and maybe we'll figure out how to get past it, right? But on a subconscious level, that is our protection. So, and subconsciously, it's good for us, even though consciously we're saying it's bad for us. So by understanding at least that what you're doing is just protection. So I want your audience to write this sentence down is when you feel resistance or worry or concern or whatever the case may be, ask yourself, why am I protecting myself at this moment in time? Why am I protecting myself at this moment in time? Well, mom used to say the same thing to me, or, oh, this happened to me. I got rejected and the person felt bad, this and this, or all these different things. Why am I protecting myself? Okay, now I can see it. What can I do to feel that, is this an illusion? Is this truth? Can I move forward with this? What can I do? What one thing can I do to just get past feeling that I have to protect myself? So by understanding that at that moment, that feeling of, I can't let this go because the unknown is more painful. But once you understand the unknown is your saboteur, and then how to move it is the antidote, that's how it is. So we've had people from, one woman who was a organizer for a particular company. And she wanted to move into her own business, but she was afraid to disconnect from that and to move into it because she didn't want to feel stupid or embarrassed. And during the program, she was able to finally make the decision to do so. And then she gave 6 months notice because there's no way by her leaving that company needed her that badly. But she gave herself 6 months notice and then at the same time started to build her business. And she's now very, very successful because she understood that her saboteur was the reason why she was not disconnecting from her present job to her future job. And by using the antidote and how to enhance that antidote and moving forward allowed her to do that. We see this consistently from people moving from different jobs to their businesses or getting promoted now. So many things like that because now they're understanding why staying in that job that's horrific is less painful than moving forward.
I see this so often, and it's so important. Yes, it is unknown where you're going, but it doesn't mean it's less than what you have now. And I feel like, and especially in my case, it's much, much more, right? And this is possible for anyone to achieve. And I feel like I'm certainly proof of that. I think that there's a lot of people who are listeners right now that are proving that every day. and stepping outside of your comfort zone in a lot of cases, right? It's doing hard things. Like I said, speaking on stage, sharing your story. A lot of people are afraid to share their story, Phil. They're afraid because they're afraid of judgment from others. They're afraid of what will people think of me. They're afraid of all of these limiting beliefs. But in reality, who could you be saving? Who could you be helping? What value could you be adding that you don't even know, that's incalculatable? So I truly encourage everybody listening to this right now to think about what are some of the ways we're self-sabotaging ourselves, whether that's procrastination or something else, and start moving in the direction of growth. I think that's so important, but you don't have to go on this journey by yourselves. The good news is that you have Dr. Philip here who is ready to help all of us get to that next level in life through his T Now method. Dr. Phil, what are the best places for everyone to get a hold of you?
They can. I'm on social media. Since your audience is mainly sales professionals, business owners, executives, I do have a website to go to called tnowmasterclass.com. tnowmasterclass.com. They can go there. They can watch a 12-minute video, kind of goes deeper into the T Now method, and then they can have a discovery call with us to determine if they're a candidate for any of our programs. Because they have money and they breathe does not mean they get into the program. We want to make sure this is something for them, and then can we help them? And then once we both agree, we go into a second hour consult, go deeper to find out, is this truly for you? And also, what can we guarantee you? We guarantee our results with a money back guarantee. So it's just having a conversation. You cannot buy anything from me on that day, on that consultation, that 30-minute consultation, because we want to make sure this is true. And if both of us agree after that second consultation, then you're allowed into the course.
I love that. It's time to up level, right? Thrive in 2025, I think, is what we were saying at the beginning of the year, right? Let's not lose steam, folks.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show, Philip. And thank you for everyone who tuned in today. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this episode, and leave a review. We are growing. I got news today that we are growing in Japan, Tanzania, and somewhere else that's really interesting that I never thought I would even touch. So, wow, this is awesome. Let's keep this global conversation growing and flowing, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode of Grasp Confidence. Thank you for joining me today and investing in yourself. Remember, building confidence is an ongoing journey, and each step you take brings you closer to the empowered, fearless version of yourself that you were born to be. Don't forget to visit my website, follow me on social media, and purchase my book, which is available on Amazon. Thank you for listening. We will see you on the next episode. Stay confident.